Doctors and nurses of Reddit who have delivered babies to mothers who clearly cheated on their husbands. What was that like? We had a very sweet blonde-haired blue-eyed mom and dad along with their entire extended family in the room for a delivery one busy afternoon at work. Think aunts, uncles, cousins, grandma and grandpa too. The baby is born and as the doctor places her on the mom's chest the first words out of her mouth are "That's not my baby, that's not my baby." The baby in question, still attached at the umbilical cord, has beautiful dark curly black hair and dark skin. The nurse looks at her and tells her that this is definitely her baby because she's still attached to you, and she, not so quietly, tells the nurse there's no way, I never slept with a black man. It's not mine. The father is standing there silent, not sure what to do. A long awkward silence fills the room. We clean her and baby up as cheerfully as we can. We see the extended family filter out of the room and father leave to get a cigarette. About 10 minutes later a tall black guy walks up to our front desk asking how to get to the patient in question's room. Paramedic here. Our crew delivered a full berth in the back of our rig. We have 2 paramedics in the back with a PT, a driver, and I am working on the laptop listening to info they are telling me to add to the report. All of a sudden, it goes kind of quiet. I hear the mother let out a very loud "oh shit." It's not white. She was very white. Few more seconds of silence, and I am like, the driver alarm beeping light on the center console sent from a button in the back was pressed 2 times quickly, generally meaning to turn around to get info for the report. I turn from the front passenger seat to see a very dark skin-colored baby. I am guessing Cuban. I can see the mother's face, but all I see is her shaking her head. She begins to worry, saying that her husband is meeting us there at the hospital. He can see this. I just continue the report, and am not sure what the problem is, but I guess we'll see when we get there. Flash forward to the We stop outside the ambulance bay. I get out to open the doors, and am met by another very white heavy-set guy in a uniform shirt, dress pants and glasses. Asked me if his wife was in there and she was in labor when he was coming home. Hospital policy dictates that we can have random people that we can confirm identity that close to the rig when opening doors for PT safety. Security is there quick, holds him back a bit. We open the doors, roll the PT and her newborn out. He takes one look, sees the color of the baby. Jaw drop, look of despair, like a 1,000-yard stare. Even security had a look like, wow, that woman ducked up, and this guy knows it now. Wife babe, I can explain every bit of this. I know it looks weird, but I can. We wheel her into no sign of husband. Last I knew, the husband didn't check into the hospital as a visitor. I am assuming he went home to pack his stuff. When I was born, my mom legitimately thought I was black, since I came out mostly purplish, one heart problem, and a few days later I was the palest baby in the world. My mom was confused and my dad almost walked out. Shaking my head, my wife slept with some purple dude. Okay, I am a nurse, but this isn't a story about a birth I witnessed. It was my own birth, and although my mother definitely didn't cheat, all the midwives were convinced she had. And yeah, it'll be buried, but I think it's a funny story, so I am going to share. For background, my mother Jay is white, and had got married young to another white guy, actually forced to by my grandparents, who were horrified she was living in sin. Their relationship petered out and they separated, but remained very good friends. Then she met my father, a black man, and began a relationship with him. Mom was still married at the time. Neither her nor her husband were in a hurry to get divorced, and he became good friends with Mom's new partner, my dad. Mom fell pregnant with me. Time moves along. She goes into labor and needs to head up to the hospital. Dad was working and couldn't make it home in time to get her there, so still being good friends with the husband, she rings him and he comes around to drive her to hospital and decides to hang out until I am born. After an hour or so Dad arrives. He was freaking out a bit, so his best friend also a black guy, drove him because Dad didn't trust himself. They arrive at the hospital right as Mom is ready to deliver. The midwives come out to the waiting room to grab the husband to be there when baby is born. They knew that Mom's actual husband had driven her there, so assumed that he was the father of the baby. Went and grabbed him and tried to drag him into the delivery room. He freaked out and yelled, "No, I am not the father. I am just the husband. The father is Aboriginal." Dad and H pulled up into the car park as this is happening, and Dad leaps out of the car, decides he needs to have a quick smoke to settle his nerves before he goes in. His best friend H doesn't smoke cigarettes but does smoke weed and is pretty stoned, so he walks in ahead. Just then the midwives come running back to the waiting room to grab the actual father, and see the only black guy in there, obviously him, right? So they take him and suit him up to bring him down to delivery. Being pretty stoned, H doesn't question this and just goes along with it. The midwives reach the delivery room and shove him inside. Mom, legs in stirrups and at the pushing stage, goes absolutely ballistic. "Not that black guy, has not the father, go get the other one." The midwives hustle H out and return him to the waiting room to wait with D. My dad has come inside by now and the midwives marched up to him and said something like, "I hope you read the father this time, otherwise I am going to just give up and she can birth alone." So that has the story about how the hospital went through 3 different men before they finally got to my actual father. Paramedic here, had a mother give birth to a healthy baby in a home. Situational awareness had not helped me yet at this point. I asked if the father was here to cut the cord. We paramedics usually shy away from this duty because it opens us up to unwanted legal ramifications should something go wrong. There was a calm in the air after I asked the question and went on to do it myself. A few moments later, I was approached by another occupant of the home who informed me that this was a home for victims of sexual assault and that the father of the baby was indeed also the father of the mother and was currently incarcerated due to the aforementioned situation. It was an awkward ride to the hospital after that. Not what I came here for, but damn, this must have been awkward. For her it must be like rubbing salt on the wound. This is not exactly what you are looking for. But my mom is black and my dad is white. My mom had kids with her first husband who were black, and they were born somewhat light-skinned, which is common among black children. So she was expecting this. But when she gave birth to my eldest full brother, she thought something was wrong because of how pale he was. Nurse said that happens and he will get color. Fast forward to when it is time for them to go home. The nurses that are now on duty refused to let her go because obviously there had been some sort of mix-up. She was literally accused of trying to steal a white baby, and even with my dad there apparently, this kid was still too white to be mixed race. This was the early 80s, so crazy stuff went down in hospitals. Mind you, we lived in an area where mixed race families were non-existent at the time. Another fast forward 16 years, and my brother has a mountain biking accident and a TBI. He is literally hanging on by a thread. His friend calls and my mom rushes over to the hospital. His friend is literally there saying yes, this is his mom and she has her ID. Bro did not have an ID though, and they are refusing to let her in. They ask for clarification if he is adopted or something, but apparently, the truth was the wrong answer. Hospital security escorted her out and she had to have my dad come, who by the way was just let right in. I highly doubt under any other circumstance they would erroneously not let a parent see their injured child because they do not look like them, but my mom being black with a very light-skinned child was apparently an issue. But anyway, back to the question. I wonder how many families have had drama thanks to genetics being so unpredictable. If my mom was white with a black husband, I am certain everyone would think she cheated on my dad with a white guy. Heck, people even accuse my mom of using an egg donor. Sometimes genes even skip generations, so a trait that has not popped up in a few generations can just randomly show up. Anesthesiologist here. C-sections are typically done under spinal anesthesia, and we are the ones at the head of the table keeping the mother calm and talking her through the procedure while the surgeons operate. I have seen it more than once, but I remember one in particular when the parents were both very Caucasian, and the baby was very much not the actual father, obviously had to be very dark-skinned. At delivery, when the not father saw the baby, he just looked down at his wife who was starting to cry and calmly said, "You ducking whore," and walked out. She started screaming for him to come back, but there was not much she could do since she was, still being operated on. She lost it to the point I eventually had to sedate her just a bit, because she was in danger of injuring herself. As far as I know, her husband never came back to the hospital. I do not know what happened after that. Baby was white on the ultrasound, so she thought she was in the clear. My brother had a surprise baby this way. He and a CO worker had a one-night stand while she was broken up with her ex. She gets back with her ex, ends up pregnant. Flash forward to the delivery day. The day my brother sends me a picture of a random baby out of the blue and says, "I think I am a dad." She is white, her boyfriend is black, my brother is white. Baby came out looking very white. I do not know how it went down in the hospital room, but I know they separated very soon after. My brother went to visit her in the hospital and asked her if she would let him take a paternity test. She agreed and it came back positive a week later, and that is how I got my surprise nephew. Edit to answer questions and clarify some things. Everyone is fine. My brother took full responsibility from day one. They ended up dating, having another child together, and are now separated with full split custody, no courts involved. I know how genetics work. I have a mixed sister and mixed children. My kids are Mexican, Puerto Rican and 11 kinds of European. They came out very brown and are now pasty white like me. One has brown eyes and one has green eyes. I do understand everyone's experience may vary. When I say very white, I mean it. He was practically translucent. The baby looked just like my brother's baby photos, and nothing at all like the boyfriend. We just kinda knew, but still a test was the only way to know. Everyone in our family was surprised, of course, but we all embraced the situation with love and understanding. Not exactly cheating, but definitely an awkward situation. During my OB rotation in med school, I was caring for a patient with a very large family, the kind that all wanted to be part of the delivery process from beginning to end. They were having a baby girl, and the room was absolutely filled from wall to wall with pink presents, bassinets, blankets, clothing, embroidered quilts, you name it. Anyways, I deliver the baby and I am horrified, thinking there was some sort of mutation in the baby's vagina. After my initial shock, I realized it was simply a perfectly normal-looking baby penis and testicles. The "congrats, it's a boy" was met with shock instead of excitement initially, but then everyone was so happy after, understanding he was perfectly healthy. Apparently, even with good prenatal care, you can miss the male genitalia on ultrasounds about 1% of the time. One of the girls in my antenatal classes and GD groups from my first pregnancy had that happen. She had gone to the weirdest lengths to make everything pink. Then her baby is born and everyone in the room was completely silent. She said it was the scariest moment of her life. She thought something was seriously wrong because her husband's face drained of color and the midwife who caught her baby's mouth kind of gaped open, holding him still between her legs. She said it felt like an eternity for them to say it is a boy, and she felt nothing but complete relief. And that is how she got a son who wore almost exclusively pink clothes the first year of his life. The car seat and pram were even pink. They did repaint the walls yellow though. I am of Irish descent, extremely pale, freckled, wavy dark hair and darker green eyes. My husband is half Native American, half German, dark hair and slightly wavy as well. My daughter came out with light brown curly hair and ever so slight strawberry blonde pieces mixed throughout, curls for days. And the nurse goes, "Wow, where did you get that hair?" Knowing I had similar color as a baby and my mother has kinky curly hair. My husband, in a room full of nurses, goes, "I do not know, Jaded, where did he get that hair?" I could have ducking killed him. Edit, please no one tell my husband how much traction this story got. It will just make him cocky and the jokes will get worse. I already have a rough time finding him hats. LOL. A nurse decided to be funny during my labor when my baby crowned and loudly announced that the baby was blonde. Husband and I are both dark-haired. Everyone just looked at her blankly or ignored her. She apologized later and said it was a joke, and everyone just stared at her again. No one got it. It wasn't until later that it hit us why she made the joke, except we just didn't get it at the time because we all knew that my husband was born blonde, so to hear that our baby was blonde only solidified that it was his. No way blonde came from me. Whoosh. Super awkward for everyone involved. The husband was only in the room for a bit then left and didn't see him again. The father of baby showed up after the baby was born. IV also had where they didn't know whose baby it was, so both guys were present to see whose they thought it was. not an LND nurse, but my wife is, and I hear everything. A woman was delivering her white ex-husband's baby with her new black boyfriend beside her, and after the baby came out and had his foot stamped with the ink pad, the boyfriend pointed to the black foot and said, "Oh, he's got my feet." I guess it is off topic, but I lolled when she told me. My brother married a half-Korean, half-white woman who had 3 girls to the same Mexican guy. The first girl looks Latina, the second girl looks Pacific Islander, the third girl has platinum blonde hair and icy blue eyes. They look nothing alike, and yet if you look at their lineage it all makes sense. I don't know if this ever caused any issues between her and her ex, but I could understand if an eyebrow was raised in the third one. Now she has a 4th girl with my brother and she looks nothing like the other 3. Just standard brown hair, brown-eyed white girl. I know this ain't super relevant to the question, but it always entertains me. My mother is from NZ, of Scottish descent, had red hair when she was young. My dad is from Australia and has jet black hair and looked a bit like Errol Flynn when he was younger, slightly olive skin. My older brother has red hair and very fair skin. My older sister has jet black hair and slightly olive skin. I have brown hair and freckly skin. My younger brother has blonde hair and tan skin. From my friend who was a delivery nurse for years, the mother takes the doctor aside and makes him promise to let her know the color of the baby the instant he knows. The baby is born and the doctor announces to mom, "Congratulations on your beautiful, healthy white baby." The father just walked right out the room and they never found anything more out about it. Not a delivery nurse, but I have to share. My friend Sarah was pregnant and her boyfriend flaked out and was not in the picture, so her other friend Eric and I took it upon ourselves to be there for her during the pregnancy. When she was having an ultrasound, we were both there in the room with her. As the tech is showing us the baby's face, we were saying things like, "Dude, that is totally your nose. Look, that cannot be my chin," etc. Sarah was laughing and the bewildered tech was looking at the 3 of us, probably making comparisons herself. I ended up working with that tech years later. One day she said, "So, out of curiosity, who was the father? LOL. When my baby was born people asked me if your father was Polynesian. Nope, he is a skinny white man. There was no doubt he was the father. She was born with thick black hair. She was a big baby, 4 kilograms, and had jaundice which made her look very tan. The hair fell out, the jaundice went away. She thinned out. I now have a strawberry blonde-haired 2-year-old that looks exactly like her papa. But man, if I hadn't known he was the only man I'd slept with, I would have some serious doubts." When my eldest was born, first he was a boy when we were told it was a girl, and then the midwife is cleaning him up and says, "Oh, his hair looks strawberry blonde." Me and husband are both dark, so that was unexpected. I meant to make a joke and say, "Are you sure he is mine?" But still being high as a kite on picotin and gas and air, I said, "Husband, are you sure he is yours?" Midwife freaked out. "You cannot say that, you cannot say that." Husband, who had known me long enough to know my bad jokes, just looked at me, sighed and shook his head, and that was the last chance I had to joke about his paternity. Kid is a total daddy clone except for his hair. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.